Hello, I hope you're all having a wonderful and lovely day. Today, what we're going to be talking about is fear. What is it? Why does it form? And what can we do about it? Because, as you'll learn in today's video, except for the fear of falling and loud noises, all of your fears are just in your head. And because they're just in your head, when we understand at a fundamental level what fear is, we can stop being held back by it and instead overcome it so that you'll stop being afraid to start that business. You'll stop being afraid to go to the gym. You'll stop being afraid to go up to that girl and ask her for her number. You'll stop being afraid of doing the thing that will get you the life you want. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. This is going to be a good one. Now, the first thing we need to define is at its core level, what is fear? Fear is your brain's way of keeping you from doing stuff that could possibly cause you to die. For example, someone might say, I'm afraid of spiders. You're not afraid of spiders. You're afraid of the possibility of a venomous spider biting you and it killing you. But you think, I'm afraid of spiders. You feel that way, but the real truth is you're afraid of the thing that could happen that could kill you. And the part where this comes and causes a lot of problems is a lot of the things that we're afraid of are actually very irrational, and our fears are just things that get passed down to us. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I actually printed out a bunch of notes for this video. So, how does fear hold us back? Firstly, opportunity cost. So, an opportunity cost, you can think of it this way. When there's a promotion at work and you would say, I'm not going to do that because I'm not good enough for it. Or there's a college you want to go to, but people like me don't get into that kind of college. I'm going to go over here. Or you see someone on the street or on the train or in public or at school or at work or wherever, and you think, oh, they look really cute, they look really handsome. I want to say something, but they're not going to like me. You're afraid of potentially being rejected, so that stops you from even trying. You're afraid of putting yourself out there, so it stops you from even the possibility of finding that good relationship. Now, also, how does it hold us back financially? So, money opportunities. The way it holds you back there is a lot of people are afraid, what if I start investing money and I lose everything? What if I start a business and it fails? What if I try to get that higher paying job and they don't want me and they decline me? What if I try this thing, I start this side hustle, I start cutting grass or shoveling snow or selling water bottles or whatever, and people don't buy my thing? What if, I don't want to fail, I don't want to look stupid, I don't want people to reject me, so I'm not even going to try. So that not only stops us from finding that relationship or getting that high paying job or starting that business, but it stops us in our money decisions. Because in order for me to have grown my business and have this office and this whiteboard and all this other stuff, I had to put up the money. I had to buy things. And if I was afraid of, what if I lose the money? What if this? What if that? I wouldn't have done it. Now, what that means is that a lot of times our fear is going to be the thing that stops us, because before you can go to this higher level in life, financially, relationship wise, whatever it may be, there are fears that are going to pop up. And you have to look at it and understand, what is this really about? Because you might think that, okay, I'm afraid to ask that person out because they might reject me. What you're actually afraid of isn't the person rejecting you. It is the feeling of being unwanted. And you kind of disguise it as, I'm afraid that they're going to reject me. but it's actually that you're afraid of feeling unwanted. And this is why some people can have a fear of spiders or snakes or rejection or losing money, and other people don't, because at the core, fear is really just like this story that we tell ourselves about something that hasn't happened yet. Now, like I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm gonna, get my note page right here. Next point right here. Where do these fears come from? It comes from what we're around. Let me draw this out for you. Right now, bear with my drawing and my handwriting. I am a speaker, not an artist. So, here is you, here's your parent, and here's your grandparent. A lot of the fears that we have are things that our parents told us because their parents told them. We could think of the example of starting a business. When my grandpa was alive, it was really hard to start a business back then because you had to get certain business licenses, you had to have a brick and mortar shop, you had to hire people, you had to deal with so many factors. Whereas now it's a lot easier because a lot of businesses can be done online. We have shipping, we have the internet, we have all these things. So something like it's hard to start a business was true back here. That would have gotten passed down to my parents, and if they passed that down to me, I would believe that it's hard to start a business. Now, when we look at it and we think that, all right, back here that was true, back here it made sense, but here it doesn't. You have to ask yourself, is the thing I'm afraid of holding me back? Because most of the time it is. Now, what can we do about that, Lawrence, though? Now, how do we overcome this fear? That's our next point. You have to clearly define it. Allow me to draw that out for you. How do we overcome this fear, Lawrence? Great question. Firstly, clearly define the specific fear, such as the example I wrote down is if you're afraid to ask people on a date, ask yourself why. Because they might reject me and you feel like people don't like you. So now you know clearly the fear is of the person rejecting me. Why do you have that? Because you don't want to feel like people don't want you. Second part, where did that come from? Like, why do you believe that in the first place? When you were younger, people called you ugly, and that fear and rejection, you've been carrying that for the rest of your life. So, you have to realize that that's just a story you've been repeating to yourself over and over until it got so deep that now you think it's a core part of who you are, not who you were. Now, you have to redefine it. Such as if someone rejects you, it doesn't inherently mean anything about you. And our fears really only have as much value as we assign to them. I can look back on my life and I remember when I first started making these videos, I was kind of afraid of people judging it. What if nobody likes it? What if no one comments? What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? But eventually I realized that if I keep allowing fear to control me, I'm not going to do anything because everything is potentially risky. Everything is a bit scary at times, but it's up to us to realize that the fears that we have really aren't that bad unless we make them that bad. Recently, I started calling schools. So a lot of them don't have the principal's email on the website for security reasons. So instead, I just call the school's main line, introduce myself, tell them, hey, my name's Lawrence. I'm a speaker who helps high school students improve self love, confidence, and their outlook on life so that they can not only improve academically, but in their careers after high school, I was just calling to ask about who handles the school events. And then they send me the principal's email, the social worker, guidance counselor, whoever does it. And what that made me realize was it's not that scary. Yeah, it's different than I'm used to. I'm used to just emailing, but it's only as scary and only as bad as we choose to make it. So, for this video, I want you to ask yourself this simple question. What fear am I allowing to hold me back? And is that just a story that someone else told me and I've been letting it run behind the scenes? You might be afraid of people rejecting you or thinking that you're ugly or whatever. And you ask yourself, where did that come from? Oh, in fifth grade, my girlfriend told me that I was ugly. It might have been that. It could be that silly. And when you ask yourself, I'm 20 years old, 25, 30, 45, 50, however old you are, do I still want to keep living my life based on what happened when I was 10, 12, 5? Do I still want to keep living my life based on that? And the answer is probably going to be absolutely no. So instead, we have to figure out, what are we afraid of? Then, where did that come from? And then, what can I do to prove to myself that I am stronger than that fear? For me, when it came to calling the schools, it was the obvious action of do the thing I am afraid of, which was calling the school. And then I realized, oh, it's not that bad. And now I'm not scared of it. Other situations might be you're afraid of asking people out on a date because you're scared they're going to reject you. Okay, go say hello to 3 people every day. Not even ask for their number, just say hello. And then, you start asking, like, oh, well, my name's Lawrence, Michael, Tom, Sarah, Rebecca, whatever your name is. And I thought you were cute, handsome, whatever. I want to get your number, Mike, and get to know you. You don't have to say all of that, but you get the point I'm making here. When we do the thing we're afraid of, we will realize that it's not as bad as we think it is. The problem, though, is that we're really good at making it worse than what it is. It's kind of like thinking that a cat is a lion. In your head, you're so scared of cats. You're like, cats are the scariest thing ever. And you see a cat, and you think that this is a man-eating lion, when actually, it's Mr. Whiskers. And you have to figure out what you're afraid of, and instead of seeing it as a lion and this big, scary thing, see it as a cat. Yeah, it might scratch you, it might claw you, it might nibble you, but it's not gonna kill you. You're not gonna die. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a good one.